I am the bubble, make me the sea. What's that? Obviously, you're not the bubble already. Be means eternal. So, I am the bubble, make me the sea is a poetic way to put this. What is seen through the organism, this perceiving that is happening through the organism, is the sea. And you're imagining being separated. But when you notice that this perceiving is undifferentiated, then that's immediate. You say, oh, it's undifferentiated. It has to be the same perceiving as is in everywhere. You don't need a cosmic experience to see through every organism at the same time in the universe to conclude that. Then you just relax and you say, well, then it means that this consciousnessing, this perceiving, is the divine, and if I am something, I am that. We are all that. We are the divine. And you begin to identify yourself with consciousness instead of a fake entity, ego entity, which is conceptual. And because it's so fragile, it will create a lot of neurosis around that, trying to maintain itself through the thinking and conceptual process. While awareness doesn't need to play any tricks, because it's constant, it's solid like a rock. You have transferred your identity to something that is solid, like a rock. And it's not a thing. You cannot say that consciousness is a thing. It can be noticed, it can notice itself, but it's not a thing. A thought is a thing. A thing is something that has a birth and death. A thought, a body, a planet. Consciousness that's not born, we are the unborn. The perceiving that is happening here is just happening through this organism because this organism is here. But then it will happen through the astral, then it will happen through the causal, and then it will continue. It will be always. And then when you identify yourself with consciousness, it becomes naturally intuitive. But sure, I am eternal. So I am the bubble, make me the sea, really is, I am the sea. To become the sea means to realize that you are the sea, that you're never a bubble, really. Separation from God is an illusion, said Yogananda. It's an illusion, meaning it's not true. It's not true. If it was real, it would be eternal. Because the real is eternal. If the separation from God were real, it would be eternal. So it's not real. It's not true. It's a belief. You believe that you are the bubble. You're not the bubble. You're the sea. You're this perceiving. It's undifferentiated, and therefore is the same perceiving through a plant, an animal, your dog, your cat. If the separation was real, it would be eternal, because the real is eternal. And we will never go back to oneness. We will never go back to God, because the real is eternal. It's not the case, says God. You may remember a story where Yogananda talks about a sadhu that he used to participate in some of these groups, sects in India, and he enters a temple and he begins to put flowers on himself because he has realized that he's God. And of course all the other devotees look, like heresy. There it is. He's saying to you, you are God. We're all God. There's nothing special about that. Why I had to leave the teachings? Well, some people say, well, why I had to leave the teachings? I had to leave the teachings because although these things of non-duality or Advaita are so extraordinarily valuable, at the moment, after 24 years, I needed this. And I couldn't find it because the teachings were, these pearls of wisdom were, in an ocean of techniques, methods, metaphysics, Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is based on I am a little being here, praying to God. It's the most absurd thing, it's impossible, cannot be more absurd. Jnana Yoga is I am God, everything is God. And Yogananda taught both, taught Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga. But the problem is that, rightly so, the nuns, and they presented the teachings more towards Bhakti Yoga because people were ready for Bhakti Yoga at that moment, but they were not ready for this. They were not ready for Jnana. Jnana or Advaita is something that now the world is ready. So the Jnana teachings in Yogananda's teachings need to be recaptured and need to be put together, because if they are in an ocean of Bhakti Yoga and so on, then people will not recognize it. And it was the problem I had. I was very loyal to the path, too loyal I would say, because it delayed my departure, and I could have departed earlier probably if I had been more loyal to the goal and less obsessed with loyalty to the path. So that's why I eventually left and I began to study Advaita. When I began to study Advaita, I realized that all the Advaita is in Yogananda's teachings, but now I had it in one block, in just one block. And then that helped immensely, and that brought the awakening here. So at some point, the awakening happened here. And it was nothing extraordinary. It was the most mundane thing, but life-changing, just for sure. Everything else, everything began to drop. All the belief system that was here in this mind-body organism eventually dropped. It was fascinating to see the process as a psychologist, because or psychotherapist, because I practiced psychotherapy also for many, many years. And I can see the benefits of awakening as something that no psychotherapy will ever be able to give to you. Nothing can obliterate neurosis in the way awakening does. It's not the end of neurosis, by the way. Awakening brings the beginning of the end. Remember that in the Mahabharata, there is this great warrior that represents the ego, and is the uncle of the Pandavas, and he was destroying the army of the Pandavas, and so the Pandavas went at night to talk with him, with their uncle, and said to the uncle, please, I don't remember the name, there are so many names in the Mahabharata, but they requested him, please let us kill you, because otherwise we won't be able to win the war. And so their uncle said, okay, tomorrow, Arjuna, you will throw an arrow to me and I will die. So the next day, Arjuna throws an arrow to his uncle, and this great warrior falls to the ground. And then Arjuna throws many arrows to the floor to help his uncle to recline on the arrows. But the uncle doesn't die. He consented to die, and that's the power of the ego. You as the ego, you need to consent to die, otherwise you won't die. It won't die. It won't be seen through. Meaning you need to want. There has to be the wanting to wake up. So the uncle, the Pandava's uncle, stays alive for 6 months, and then he shares from his wisdom. So this represents what happens after awakening. Awakening is the arrow of Arjuna, which is the arrow of observation and intellect. The highest intellect, the wisdom, combined with sheer observation, kills the ego. Arjuna represents the third center of consciousness here in the navel, where the intellect resides, in the Indian teachings. So the ego dies not immediately after awakening, but is mortally wounded. That's what happened to the Pandava's uncle, the ego. It's mortally wounded after awakening, and it will begin to, if it's not too strong still, because otherwise it can possess the awakening. As I explained, it happened, and it was happening to this man that was saying, "I am God," right? So if it doesn't repossess the awakening and becomes stronger based on a new identification, I am an awakened teacher, for example, I am an awakened being. If that doesn't happen, the ego will keep dying and disappear. So I left the teachings because I was craving for this, and then I was able to find it in a concentrated form in the Advaita teachings of Nisargadatta Maharaj, Ramana Maharshi, and so on. Put it together, and then I began to look into Yogananda's teachings and see, hey, Yogananda taught all this already, but it's in an ocean of metaphysics, and then today, doesn't make sense for me to go back to the church or anything like that. The path is over. I would say this is the path of observation and using clear thinking. Clear observation, clear thinking, that's it. Into the human experience. Loyalty to the path is good, but if you put it higher than loyalty to the goal, then it's a problem. And I saw this. I had a friend that at some point he met a man that apparently was very holy, and so he embraced him at some point and gave him a cosmic consciousness experience. And that was pretty interesting, because it could have given him, the possibility of getting rid of the ego consciousness very fast and so on. He broke the relationship with this man, and he refused the experience. In the middle of the experience, he contracted because the thought came, no, this is not coming from Yogananda's teachings. So he chose the loyalty to the path versus loyalty to the goal, and that's a mistake. Be careful. These things need to be understood properly. Loyalty to the goal is higher than loyalty to the path. The path you will leave it at the end. Yogananda explains, you cross the ocean of illusion. At the other side, you need to leave the boat there. You don't carry the boat with you. After awakening, happens, you don't carry the boat. You stop being a seeker. You found God. Because the process of seeking is painful. It's not nice to be a seeker. People say, oh, I am a seeker. Like a new identity. I am this, right? Oh, I am a seeker. I'm a special. That's ego. You're not a seeker. You're God. We're all God. You're the awareness that is seeing through the organism. So what happens is that if you try to carry after awakening the boat, you continue being a seeker and you go back. So you need to let go of the seeking. The seeking is past. You recognized God in your own experience and you are identified with it, and then you let go of, you saw through the ego, you saw through the illusion of I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that, this pure bullshit. And then, okay, I'm awareness, that's it. Impersonal awareness. That's awakening. After that, drop the boat. You need to drop it, because otherwise you become a seeker again. I am a seeker. I'm seeking liberation. And yes, liberation is a desirable goal. What liberation means is that this insight, this seeing that you are consciousness, now needs to penetrate every thought, every belief, every desire in the mind-body organism. That's embodiment of the awakening. That process is not done by the ego anymore, because the ego was seen through as a lie. It's a societal lie. You were awareness before you were born. Awareness is in the baby, but the baby doesn't believe to be so and so. Then she's told, through the baptism, you're so and so. The baptism is an initiation into the illusion. And then now, awareness, you were awareness as a baby, and the same awareness that is present right now. Once awakening happens and you recognize yourself as awareness, then you drop the boat and you simply allow the process to unfold. And there is this vigilance that the ego will not rebuild itself. And it's important. And on the contrary, you will cooperate with consciousness that will finalize the job. That the organism will not be, so there has to be awareness of what's going on. But awareness is doing the job. It's not necessary to meditate more, although meditation may happen, can be delightful for a lot of people, and may help. But the embodiment process is mostly through experiences, one experience after another, that inform consciousness how to modify this mind-body organism, how to reprogram it, so that it will be really a good instrument for the expression of consciousness in the world. A loving instrument. That's the embodiment. And at the end, when the ego is totally gone, then the job is done and there is liberation. What means liberation? Liberation is the end of the rope for the ego, meaning that the ego has been killed completely. There's no identification anymore whatsoever. Because the habit of identity, you saw through the identification in the awakening, but the habit of identification stays there and lingers. That is when the Pandava's uncle is dying, but it's not dead yet, right? So it still is lingering there as a habit, and it doesn't, unfortunately, it's not killing just 6 months. It has not been the experience here. the ego still is alive. So there has to be awareness of what this thing is doing, what the ego is doing. But by identifying yourself with the awareness as the ego does its thing, you are not identified with the ego. So the ego structure still is kind of there, but the identification is with the awareness that is seeing it. So it's not able, the ego is, after awakening, if the awareness is sharp at seeing it, it doesn't run the show. As simple as that. That's the purpose. And then it becomes thinner and thinner until it comes the time that you can truly say, I killed so and so long ago. And you will be totally identified with what you already are, what you are already now, that perceiving. And the identification with that self, with the true self, has become complete. So in Yogananda was complete when he said, I killed Yogananda a long time ago. I am God here. I'm consciousness, I'm awareness. Nothing else. Not superior to you or anyone else. No. Yogananda was totally humble. He knew he didn't exist. As such, we all exist as we are as God. So I hope this helped. This helps you to see that the Advaita teachings are already part of Yogananda's teachings, and then there are this much more. Yogananda talked a lot about these things, and they need to be recaptured. I hope somebody will do the job and put everything together. I just have beginning. This is the beginning. Yogananda's teachings are massive, so I'm sure that the nuns or the monks, at some point they will do something like this, but a much more thorough work. I just want to introduce the discussion. Take care and have a beautiful day.